There's this really cool desk toy called Atomics that you can't buy anymore. So a couple of years ago I made my own. It's about 3,000 ball bearings sandwiched between two layers of acrylic. They're free to move in 2 dimensions and they naturally fall into this regular lattice structure, except that there are imperfections in the lattice. And actually that's why I built this thing in the first place, because I wanted to make a video about lattice imperfections in things like diamond or metals, and this Atomics toy is a really good model for that. If you want to watch that video, the link is in the card and in the description. But someone commented on that video saying that this Atomics toy might also be useful for demonstrating what's going on when you heat treat metals like annealing or tempering, and that's what this video is about. If I allow the balls to fall quickly into position, they form these small regions of regularity. You get the same kind of arrangement in the atomic lattice of metals, these small regions of crystalline metal that are neighbouring each other. And they can't form one single crystal because they're oriented differently. These regions are called grains in a metal, and it turns out that the size of grains in a metal really has a profound effect on the physical properties of that metal. So let's see what happens to the grain size when we heat treat a metal. This is a model of an atomic lattice, so we need to think about what heating means for the model. Well, on the atomic scale, heat is just kinetic energy. It's how much are the atoms and molecules jiggling around. So if we want to increase the temperature in our model, we need to jiggle the balls around. I'm going to jiggle these balls with a vibration generator, which is basically a speaker with a prong. And because I'm filming at 50 frames per second, I'm going to try vibrating at 50 Hertz and 100 Hertz. By picking a multiple of the frame rate, I don't need to worry about the stroboscopic effect. You can see how the added kinetic energy gives the lattice an opportunity to rearrange itself. That extra movement means that the atoms can slip and slide into new positions and the grain size increases. So heat treating a metal lattice in this way increases the grain size. But what effect does that have on the physical properties of the metal? Well, in metallurgy, you have all these different terms for the physical properties of a metal. Hardness, toughness, strength. They all sound really similar, but they all have different technical definitions that I don't want to get into in this video. So we're just going to gloss over all that and say, how hard or easy is it to bend a metal permanently out of shape before and after heat treating in this way? Well, my assumption would be that if you have larger grains, larger crystal structures, then it will be stronger because a regular crystal arrangement is really strong. But it turns out that larger grains make it easier to bend a metal out of shape. To see why, we need to look at what happens at the molecular level when you permanently deform a metal. It's called plastic deformation, when you permanently change the position of atoms. And you might theorize that when you permanently deform a metal, maybe the grains are sliding over each other, or they're breaking up into smaller grains or joining together. It's actually none of that. It turns out the most important thing when it comes to plastic deformation is imperfections in the crystal, specifically imperfections called dislocations. Dislocations come in a few different flavors, but generally speaking, they look a little bit like this. And it turns out that dislocations are easy to move. You can see why. If you look at the bonds around a dislocation, they're already quite strained, so you don't need much energy to break one of those bonds. So when you apply forces to a metal in different directions, these dislocations will move around in different directions, like this. The important thing is it takes less energy to move dislocations through a grain than it does to move grains against each other. That's why dislocations are sometimes called the carrier of plasticity in a metal. You might have thousands of dislocations within a single grain in a metal. So when you're bending it, you're causing those dislocations to glide through the grain. But crucially, when a dislocation gets to the edge of a grain, it can't go any further. It can't hop to the next grain. That's the end of its journey. So if your metal has small grains, then the dislocations within those grains won't have far to travel before their journey ends, before they reach a grain boundary. And on a macroscopic level, that means that your metal isn't very ductile. You can't plastically deform it very much. And if you keep applying force, then it's just going to fail in other ways. Whereas if you grow the size of your grains like we did here, then you're giving those dislocations further to travel. You're increasing the capacity of your metal to plastically deform before breaking. You're increasing the ductility of your metal. That's about the limit of what I can demonstrate with this model. And obviously it's an oversimplification of the whole field of metallurgy, because there are different ways to heat treat a metal with different results. What I've done is probably closest to annealing, but there's also tempering and quenching. And there's loads of different variables, like what temperature do you raise the metal to? Is it above or below the recrystallization temperature? How quickly or slowly do you let it cool down? And you get all these different properties. It's really, really interesting, and it's not something I can demonstrate with this model. But I found a couple of really good videos if you want to dive a bit deeper. I'll leave those in the card and in the description. Let me tell you what I've been doing with the sponsor this month. I'm pleased to say it's Skillshare again, online community of learners with thousands of courses in creative and entrepreneurial skills. What I've been doing is learning about my camera. So I've got a really good video camera. It's a Panasonic GH5. It's also a really good stills camera, and I just don't use it for that. Like, it's got RAW, you can shoot in RAW, it's got an amazing burst mode. It's really good, and I don't use it. So I've taken this Skillshare course in photo editing. It's called Cinematic Styles in Adobe Camera Raw. Elizabeth is amazing. I don't know, I've become this advocate for online courses because it's giving me this amazing foundation in a skill that I just didn't have before. And I can use my camera now to take amazing pictures of my kids. You know, I've got this really nice lens, narrow depth of field, I've got a macro lens, and having this ability to take and edit raw images as well, it's just really cool. It's really affordable, it's just $10 a month for annual membership, but because they're sponsoring this video, you can get 2 months absolutely free if you go to school.sh/SteveMold4. That's school.sh/SteveMold4. Someone told me that I should say slash instead of / because I guess the forward bit is implied. It's never backslash. So in case anyone was wondering, why didn't you say / I made this longer really by explaining it, haven't I? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.